Salutations all. Greetings upon your return. In 2020, I accurately forecasted Joe Biden's electoral college victory of 306 to 232. This video showcases my revised electoral map forecast for Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. This electoral cycle has indisputably been one of the most compelling in American history. Merely 5 months earlier, Joe Biden was anticipated to be the Democratic nominee, but he withdrew from the campaign in mid-July, allowing Kamala Harris to take the lead on the ticket. During August and September, the election appeared highly competitive, with many individuals on the left expecting Harris to prevail. Nevertheless, I have upheld consistency in my predictions over this period. We will commence with the probable outcomes for Donald Trump, focusing on two prominent scenarios. Alaska, a state he has secured by double-digit margins in the previous two elections and is unlikely to lose despite its recent liberal inclination, and Maine's 2nd District, which he is expected to win for a third successive time. Additionally, in the Midwest, we have Iowa and Ohio. In 2020, these two states were anticipated to be highly competitive, with surveys indicating that Trump would secure victory by a margin of merely 1%. Nonetheless, he ultimately achieved victory in Iowa and Ohio by a margin of 8 points each. Currently, polling suggests that Trump leads by approximately 6 to 8 points in these elections, likely enabling him to surpass the double-digit threshold. Nonetheless, this margin will not suffice for these races to be considered secure. Trump is improbable to achieve victory in Iowa and Ohio by margins exceeding 15 points. These states are anticipated to be reliable for the former president, granting him an additional 23 electoral votes. Furthermore, within the Sun Belt, 2 additional states are anticipated to endorse Trump. We will first with Texas, where polls said Trump led by a mere 1 in 2020, a state he secured. He ultimately triumphed by 6 votes, then by 9 in 2016. Currently, he is positioned for his most substantial edge to date, as polling in Texas reveals a 10 advantage. He may near the 15 level, a milestone no Republican has attained since Mitt Romney in 2012. Texas is clearly moving leftward and is less Republican than in the past. Yet, it is improbable that the state will become predominantly Democratic for at least another 2 to 3 decades. Evaluate the quantity of folks that Texas Democrats need to persuade. To achieve victory in Texas, it is essential to rally millions of votes. Nevertheless, this is improbable in the foreseeable future, indicating that Texas will likely continue to be largely Republican. Florida has been among the most competitive states in the country. In 2012, it was the sole battleground state on the election map, determined by a margin of 2 points or less. In 2016, Trump secured victory by a narrow margin of 1.2. Before exploring the details, kindly subscribe, like this video, and express your thoughts in the comments area. I value your assistance. In 2020, contrary to expectations that Joe Biden would prevail in Florida, he not only failed, but also demonstrated poorer performance compared to Clinton's results from 4 years prior, with Trump's margin increasing. Florida is anticipated to experience a significant increase in support for Trump, similar to the period from 2016 to 2020. He is expected to secure victory in the Sunshine State by a margin of approximately 10 percentage points, either slightly below or above that figure. Consequently, when accounting for all verified and likely states, Donald Trump currently possesses 219 electoral votes, just 51 votes away from the presidency. Kamala Harris must strengthen her standing as we evaluate her prospective states, beginning with Oregon, which was favorable for Hillary Clinton in 2016. The state is less liberal than its 2 neighboring states. Indeed, the 2022 gubernatorial election was decided by a narrow margin, but the Democrat ultimately prevailed. Moreover, we consider New York and New Jersey to be 2 states that are less advanced than their counterparts in the Northeast. Joe Biden secured substantial margins in 2020. Kamala Harris is unlikely to replicate his success. New Jersey exhibited a rather strong blue alignment, while New York shifted to blue by a margin of 23 points. Kamala Harris may be fortunate to secure victory by even half that margin, given the Democrats' declining performance in New York, which is no longer the stronghold it once was. Consequently, both states are predisposed to endorse the vice president. Furthermore, Kamala Harris is expected to win in Colorado by a margin of 7 points, despite Joe Biden's 14-point victory in the prior election cycle. Colorado is going to be a lot more competitive, but consider just how blue was in 2020. Unlike that, this state really gets that close. And so we're now left with the 12 most competitive races in the country, as well as the second district admitted is going to be these states that will actually decide who the 47th president is going to be. They make up less than a quarter of the Electoral College's 538 votes, but they really do have all the power when it comes to picking our next commander in chief. And so we're now going to fill in the lean states for both candidates. These are states that are going to go to or Trump by margins of 2 to 7. And so this time we'll start with the lean Harris states just to get them out of the way. Because obviously we know that this election is going to come down to a group of these 7 key battlegrounds. Now, the lean states for Harris, they're all states that Joe Biden carried by likely margins. From 4 years ago, these states were not that close last time, but they are significantly more competitive now that Harris is at the top of the ticket. We're going to start off out west in New Mexico. Harris is poised to achieve victory by approximately 7 points. The state can certainly become competitive. For example, in the 2016 election, Clinton won by a slim margin of 8. Harris's performance may deteriorate further as Hispanic voters in New Mexico increasingly embrace conservative ideology. Additionally, we have Minnesota, the native state of Tim Walz. This is significant. It is the home state of Harris's running partner, and she is unlikely to surpass expectations. Joe Biden's campaign secured a victory in Minnesota by a margin of 7 points, with Kamala Harris as his running mate, despite her tenuous connections to the state. In 2016, she explicitly cites California as her state of origin. Hillary Clinton narrowly won the state, indicating that Trump may emerge as a significant competitor in this region. The choice of Walz undoubtedly protected Kamala Harris from a humiliating loss, but it has not allowed her to surpass the incumbent president's performance. Only 3 additional lean blue states remain in Nebraska's second district, which Harris is anticipated to win by around 5 points after the 2021 redistrict. The second district is becoming more liberal, including Omaha and its neighboring suburbs, and stretching northeast to New Hampshire and Maine, 2 states that were fiercely contested in 2016. Clinton narrowly won New Hampshire by less than half a percentage point and Maine by fewer than 3 points. Although Harris is not anticipated to score as poorly as Clinton, she is also not projected to exceed Biden's performance, who secured victory in New Hampshire by 7 points and in Maine by 9. Therefore, both races are expected to favor the Democratic Party. In Virginia, the contest remains as tough as in 2016, when Hillary Clinton won by a narrow 5 points despite her running mate Tim Kaine being a sitting senator from the Commonwealth. She was unlikely to secure victory in the state by a significant margin. In 2020, Joe Biden won Virginia by a margin of 10.1. The probability of a Republican triumph in Virginia seems reduced, as the state is anticipated to be significantly more competitive than it was 4 years ago. After accounting for all strong, likely, and lean Democratic states, Biden has secured 226 electoral votes, closely following Donald Trump, who has 219. It is essential to acknowledge that we have not yet examined the lean Republican states. The 7 critical battleground states, often marked in yellow on electoral maps, are essential. The results in other states are predominantly preordained. The Republican-leaning states demonstrate Trump's robust showing in elections expected to be closely contested. We shall delineate Trump's route to triumph, emphasizing states he is anticipated to win by substantial margins, alongside those that will be the most contested among the 7, starting with Arizona. This state is expected to vote more conservatively than Georgia and North Carolina, diverging from its voting trends in 2016 and 2020. In 2016, Trump won Arizona by 3.5. but later lost it to Joe Biden by 0.3. Arizona is a competitive state that has historically supported the Republican Party. However, it has shifted leftward over the past decade and is presently represented by 2 Democratic senators. The Republican Party has encountered difficulties in candidate selection for down-ballot contests, evidenced by Kari Lake's failure in the 2022 gubernatorial election and her subsequent loss to Ruben Gallego in the Senate race. Martha McSally's 2 unsuccessful campaigns have further hindered Republican ambitions. Despite these obstacles, Republicans possess the potential to secure victories in Arizona, contingent upon improved candidate selections. Donald Trump, as a powerful candidate, is poised to achieve success in Arizona, which is expected to benefit the Republican Party. I currently anticipate a victory margin of approximately 3 for the former president in the Eastern region. Furthermore, early voting statistics in Georgia and North Carolina appear favorable for Republicans, indicating that Trump is likely to secure victories in both states. Despite winning North Carolina in 2020, he lost Georgia, the most contentious state in the country. Biden was the first Democrat to secure victory since Bill Clinton in 1992, similar to Arizona. Georgia has consistently been a Republican bastion, supporting Trump by 5 points in 2016, Romney by 8 in 2012, and McCain by 5 in 2008. During the Bush presidency, a preference for Republicans was evident, exceeding 16 points. As a result, Georgia is expected to revert to Republican dominance, but with a slim margin for Trump. This denotes a secondary victory for the former president, who is expected to secure North Carolina, the one swing state he has won in both previous elections. Trump currently holds 262 electoral votes and needs to obtain any 3 of the remaining upper Midwestern states to surpass 270. Nevada will be insufficient. We will commence in Pennsylvania. This state is likely the initial supporter of Trump, given its geographical positioning between Michigan and Wisconsin in terms of political alignment. Kamala Harris selected Tim Wells as her vice presidential candidate. Minnesota significantly influences Wisconsin, potentially providing a marginal benefit to the state. Hence, Pennsylvania is anticipated to be the pivotal factor that propels Trump beyond 270 electoral votes. He secured victory in the state in 2016, along with Michigan and Wisconsin, allowing him to attain successes in these 3 contests in 2020. Although he lost Pennsylvania by 1.2, he presently leads in the polls by approximately. He will certainly surpass expectations and reclaim Pennsylvania. Consequently, the election is effectively concluded. The electoral college margin by which Trump succeeds is inconsequential. He is poised to secure other states, particularly the Teal states, where outcomes will be determined by a margin of 2 percentage points or less, starting with Wisconsin and Michigan. If Trump secures victory in Pennsylvania, he is unlikely to lose these contests. All 3 of these states, referred to as the former Blue Wall states, consistently endorse the same candidate. The last instance in which they did not support the same candidate occurred during the 1988 election. Since 1992, they had dependably supported the Democratic Party until 2016, when Trump secured victories in all 3 cases. In 2020, Joe Biden reinstated their support. I do not anticipate a change in this tendency. I assume all 3 will align behind the same candidate, perhaps the former president. Nevada has consistently eluded Republicans among all swing states over the past 2 decades. Nevada is the sole state that Donald Trump has not secured, but this will alter in 5 days. Nevada is poised to lean Republican, having shifted conservatively over the past decade. Republicans secured the governorship with Joe Lombardo, who ousted the Democratic incumbent, Steve Sisolak. With the onset of November, I predict that Donald Trump will obtain 312 electoral votes. Kamala Harris, 226, signifies the most abysmal Democratic performance since 1988. Harris is currently facing significant challenges, while Donald Trump holds a remarkably advantageous position in the election season. Trump is capitalizing on this opportune moment. Thank you all for your audience. Please ensure to like, comment, and subscribe promptly.